So I'm going to take another dive into Avengers Endgame, the most highest gross by now. It's pretty much the most highest grossing Marvel film in the MCU, and probably the most money making that that's ever had the Marvel brand on, and even Deadpool too. Which it's kind of sad. Looking back at this how the film holds up, it's like, okay, I want to make this thing clear. I like this movie, but I'm also make it clear, like, much like every Avengers film, I like every Avengers film, but I also feel like I'm dying inside, and my hopes slowly wearing thin. If Avengers will ever make me proud to be a film, and I can safely say now, I was 100% that is absolutely never going to happen. After seeing Endgame, it's like, wow, you already destroyed all of my hopes and dreams, Marvel. Thank you. Well, thank you also again for making another bland piece of ugly looking shit. That's somehow that's a good movie, but it's ugly little thing to look at. This is the ugliest looking Marvel film since the last Marvel film, which was it's amazing how nobody everyone like praised the Russos for being fucking geniuses. But no one ever admits that no one ever wants to say that every time when they handle on a Marvel project, that they will choose the most hideous, and I mean hideous, color grading you can imagine, even more than Last Airbender movie by M. Night Shyamalan, which is the only movie out now involving that franchise, but I'm not going to get to talk about that. Let's just hope the Netflix series of The Last Airbender is good. Fingers crossed. Of course, I have somehow more high hopes with that than I do with the future of the Avengers, anything involving the Avengers after seeing Endgame, because Endgame is one of those films that, even though it's like The Dark Knight, even though I enjoyed it, it kind of broke my spirits at the same time. Like my spirit feels like my soul feels like it's dying of claustrophobia, of being claustrophobic throughout the entire 3-hour structure of the film. Oh yeah. Did I mention that this is like 3 hours and 9 minutes long? So, if you're one of those people who are fortunate enough to not see in theaters, then you are the luckiest person on live. Because I was unfortunate enough to see this film in theaters when it came out. Now, it might seem like I'm hating on this film. No, I'm just telling you what the problems I have with the film, then I'll tell you the good stuff. It's like after you're an hour into the film, you start to feel like you've seen this film before. Probably because of when was the Marvel formulas and whatever and those who Marvel fans don't know what a formula is, and I'm not kidding, the Marvel fans don't know what a Marvel formula is, even though they know what the Marvel formula is. A formula is something that you're expecting to happen and does happen. So, and they have confessed that they know what a Marvel formula is, and they have confessed that they know what a formula is, but they don't know what a formula is. It's almost like they're in denial about it. But this does have a Marvel formula. It's not as formulated as the other Marvel film, but it's, oh boy, it's there, alright. And boy, in this can I tell you something, Mr. Coleman? After the 5-year time jump, the whole thing starts to fall. Starly is like a slow burn of diarrhea. Yes, a slow burn coming out of your butthole. That's how the pacing feels anyway. But on one hand, the pacing feels better after the 5-year time jump. But then you start to realize it's not the pacing that's the issue, it's the stupid storytelling decisions they made that go nowhere and are never addressed or explained to us, the audience. So really, before the 5-year time jump, here's the plot of the film. Thor and every other Avengers, half of the Avengers and half the population in the universe have died because by Thanos' hand by snapping his fingers in Infinity War. And instead of Thor being the dumbass, decides to, instead of going to the head, he goes to the chest, and he blames himself because it is kind of his fault. So Thor is kind of, seems like he's a little depressed. Then after fighting China, you see how depressed he's gotten. And now before the 5-year time go, he's angry and depressed because he failed pretty much the entire world, and so did the Avengers did. Now this is off to a good start. Then Black Widow basically explains to the audience, anyone who didn't see Infinity War, which is kind of not worth seeing, I'm going to be honest. But it is worth seeing if you want to understand, what's going on and what happened in the story. So it takes place, instead of taking off the same exact scene where the first one left off and making it more emotional, they decided to fast forward in time a little bit and start off with Tony Stark depressed and dying of oxygen, of lack of oxygen, like a food, and spending his time with Nebula. And at first it seems like all hope is lost for Tony Stark, and he's really going to die. Yes, I'm so sure he is going to die, because even though the trailers mention that he's in it throughout the structure of the film, which we have not seen yet, I'm sure he's going to die in Endgame. You have me fooled completely. That's sarcasm. But still, it's not less emotional scene because Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., is giving his all in these things. All of his humor and heart that makes Tony special in the comics. And he does a good job playing Tony Stark. Again, something he couldn't do in the first Iron Man film. In the first Iron Man film, he gave the performance of Brie Larson from Captain Marvel movie. And speaking of Brie Larson, her performance is better than ever. Yeah, she's in this film. Good thing she's barely in this film. And bad thing is, she's barely in this film. Because a lot less people would have, the whole thing over, because this film probably could have used Brie Larson's superpowers, but not Brie Larson at all. What I'm trying to say is anyone can play Captain Marvel unless you're Brie Larson. Anybody. Even, what's his name? What's that bad Canadian I'm always referring to? Pauly Shore. Mm. Or a piece of wood could play Captain Marvel. That's not lazy. Now I know what you're thinking. Isn't that lazy character development or lazy making a character? No, it's not. To Marvel, it's genius and not lazy at all. And to Brie Larson, she says that. She says it's not lazy, it's genius. And so can Kevin Feige, who has no dick. Who I am by now 100% committed, 100% convinced that he is a secretly gay and a transvestite. And he just wants to make everyone's life worse. Mostly mine. I can tell Kevin Feige did have had a hand in this film. Wanna know how I can tell? The Marvel formula is basically Kevin Feige. It's like, Kevin Feige does Marvel formula. It's going to feel like a Marvel formula. It's going to basically feel like less like a Marvel formula if Kevin Feige's not to have his hands on the project. Unfortunately, this one and also Infinity War he did, which is probably why I don't really like those. I like this one, but don't really like this one. And even though this is one of the better Marvel films, it's my second least favorite Marvel film, next to the first Avengers film. Even though it's my favorite Marvel film, but pretty low on their list. So yeah, Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson. You know, I'm not going to call it Captain Marvel. I'm just going to call it Brie Larson because that's not Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is the egotistical, snarky asshole in the comics. Brie Larson's just a plain asshole. So I'm going to call it Brie Larson shitface. So Brie Larson's shitface saved Tony Stark from dying of the cold breeze face after he says he makes a recording for Pepper Potts and says it to Pepper Potts, assuming she's still alive. Tony Stark is very relieved to find out that Pepper Potts is still alive, and he hugs her after he gets back on due to the help of Brie Larson's shitface. And so does Nebula get back onto Earth. They all Avengers. Nebula told where Thanos would retire because he talked about all the time when he was fantasizing about killing half of humanity and all living life. He probably wrote it in his diary if he. Wouldn't be surprised if Thanos had a diary because, well, I hate Thanos. And the MCU's version of Thanos because he's just so boring. Oh, and good thing is, Thor killed that stiff Thanos performance off by cutting off his head. This is after the Avengers makes a plan to go make Thanos reverse what he did, and only to find out when they get to that planet, the Avengers realize they're too late, and that Thanos destroyed the stones, and it almost killed him because he burned half of his body. It nearly killed him. So Thor decides to just decapitate him, and the Avengers are like, what the fuck, dude? Why would you do that? And he answers, I went for the head. And 5 years time jump goes ahead. Everyone's still grieving over the Avengers fucking up, and Thanos winning, basically, and Thor screwing up. And Now, there are only 3 people that really have character arcs, and that is Thor, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's not Hawkeye anymore. He's Ronin. Except he's not called Ronin anymore. So we're supposed to assume who his new identity is now. Is Ronin. Then he goes back to being Hawkeye because Ronin was too cool for him. How I know this? Because he goes back to killing people, he goes back to attacking people. Instead, he gets whatever, he dishes his sword, goes back to the old armor, goes back to the old arrows. See, he became Ronin because he was depressed after his family got faded out of existence. Got snapped out of existence by Thanos. And in fact, actually, that's what the movie opens up with. And, so, I'm going to see Hawkeye's character arc, and also, after I explain this rest of the film, because, and also, Thor is now Bruce Banner. I'm not kidding, I love how they don't need to explain it. How do I know they don't need to explain it? Because they don't explain it. Hulk doesn't explain it. Bruce Banner Hulk doesn't explain it. But we're supposed to, everyone is supposed to notice that that's for not Hulk, but Professor Hulk. How do I know this? Because in the comics, Professor Hulk has intelligence of Bruce Banner and keeps it. And Ronin, how I know that Hawkeye's not Ronin, and that's his name? Well, because Ronin is dresses up in a samurai costume and swings a sword and kills people. That's how I know that's Ronin. In fact, unless you're a comic book fan, you have no idea who these characters are, what version they're playing. It's amazing. And by amazing, I mean amazing stupid. So, in fact, that's the only problem with what they got wrong about Professor Hulk is that he no longer has anger issues. Somehow, because that doesn't make any sense. Even Bruce Banner had anger issues, and the Hulk, it was when that doesn't make any sense. So wait, how do you get rid of those anger issues? Because in the MCU's Hulk, Bruce Banner and Hulk both share anger issues. But no, we're just supposed to accept it, okay? So I'm explaining, but it's important not to think too hard about it. Trust me. And it's also important not to think too hard why is Steve, known as Captain America, now mourning over his ex-girlfriend when he clearly moved on in Civil War to his sort of granddaughter. Oh shit. Steve has been fucking his own granddaughter, basically? Wanna know how I know this? Because in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Peggy Carter in an interview, in a history interview, saying, even in death, Steve was still changing my life. That's kind of hinting at that she got pregnant, isn't it? So, really, when you look at it, the MCU's Captain America, it's kind of sick because he fucked his granddaughter and kissed it. Make that was his granddaughter. And dated his granddaughter. How I know that's Peggy Carter's granddaughter? Because the movie Captain America Civil War acknowledged it. So, yeah. We'll never get that out of my image out of my head. Hope you don't get your image out of your head, that unpleasant image out of your head too. So, anyway, Captain America's focus on his see, he's going through grief of all the times he missed the love of his life, Peggy Carter. That's what he's grieving over, even when he kind of finished grieving over after she died in Captain America Trilogy. By the time the Captain America Trilogy was over, he was a broken man and was kind of done with his grieving, because he found a different girl. Oh, and but let's see, we're supposed to find this important. Want to know why? Because even though he's barely focused on, and more focused on as like much like Professor Hulk, Captain America feels more like an afterthought of character. Because, and much like Tony Stark feels like an afterthought of a character, and everyone else except for Thor and Black Widow and Hawkeye feel like afterthoughts of character and don't feel like fully fleshed out characters or realized characters. But don't worry, it's part of the Marvel flying, so that's the way that we need to make money. I mean, good art. At least that's what they claim to be, that they're making is art. Tony now, after the 5-year time jump, has a family and has a daughter, and he's now a married man. And the Avengers go to Avengers. The Avengers, rest of us love the Avengers, go to Hulk for help to make a time machine after Tony Stark says no and thinks the whole thing's a bunch of stupid nonsense. Because it sounds like stupid nonsense. And I wonder whose idea was Hank Pym, because clearly we can trust someone that doesn't know anything and comes across as a bubbly idiot in his first 2 films. So clearly he sounds like a good idea to trust when it comes to making good ideas and smart choices. So he decides to suggest to the Avengers to do a time travel, and he calls it. He thinks he's the first person to ever creative with the word time heist, and he's in denial that no, not time travel. Okay, yeah, it's time travel. That's how he delivers it. But it gets better. The Avengers think it's a good idea, so Tony Stark is the one who has content to realize that's a stupid idea. Because time works different in the quantum realm, because with quantum particles, and it felt, because the 5 years that he was in there felt more like 5 hours. And his daughter Hope is now a full-grown girl. And he reunites her, and not Hope, no, that's the Wasp. Anyway, his daughter, who he calls Peanut, is a full-grown girl. And he helps with time. I make the time machine. And Professor Hulk, who is dumber than Bruce Banner, who's basically incompetent. I love how incompetent he intentionally made the Hulk, because he can't even figure out, but they made Tony Stark competent, because Bruce Banner, as we know, no one's smart like Tony. Because Tony is Jesus. That's how they say. Tony's smart, but so Tony can somehow make the time travel thing work, but Bruce Banner, known as Professor Hulk, can't, and he sees the whole failure as a step forward. And he says, time travel! After he, Hank, after the use, Ant-Man as a lab rat, and, he turns into an old man, then turns into a baby, and then turns into a kid. And then finally turns into himself. His right age self. I love how this movie feels like 6 movies rolled into one. Cluttered, unfocused, unbalanced, unnatural. That's part of the fun of it, actually. Oh, and they give Professor Hulk nothing to do. He has no character. No one has really a character. It's mostly just made for laughs. Like Friends, the show Friends. Because when I think of the Avengers, I think of Friends. That's sarcasm. So yeah, Tony figures out all his time travel, and he decides to onboard the whole time heist thing to get everyone back and keep what he has, and not trying. Those are his motivations. How? Because he says it. And gives Shield his shield back, his Captain America shield back. Captain America hesitates, but it's very brief, so he instantly gets it back after one scene, and because Tony's no longer mad at him, water's on the bridge now, blah blah blah, and so they go time traveling and get all Infinity Stones. Thanos finds out from the past, but instead of a really complex villain they would try and make him in Infinity War, he is now reduced to a one-dimensional villain. So he's pure evil Thanos, and one of his plans to annihilate the entire universe, and make the next people an evolution that are going to keep on living out of his own breed. And that seems kind of stupid because I don't know. It sounds a bit well, it's not that smart, I don't think. The rest of the Avengers and rubble after still all the Avengers survive the explosion, and they're in rubble though, and this is the time when everyone else comes back, when all whole thing's lost. Falcon says, "On your left, Captain." And everyone teleports back, and Captain America does this epic line saying, "Avengers, assemble." And also, remember the whole Age of Ultron? For those who were lucky enough to see the movie Age of Ultron, remember how it looked like Captain America could lift the hammer, but then dropped it? But it looks like he could lift the hammer, but not really. And turns out that before shouting for Avengers Endgame, when Cap picks up Mjolnir and swings it at Thanos and beats the shit out of him, all single-handedly. And Oh, I haven't mentioned Hawkeye's out character arc, right? Okay, so he loses family from Thanos due to the snap. Then he becomes Rodin. Then he gets a moment of closure. And then he's brought back to present day through time travel, and because he was because he was the guinea pig. So and then we go to Black Widow's character arc. See, she's grieving over for the free act structure, how the Avengers how she's grieving over how they're lost in the Avengers and stuff. She's doing the Avenger that still wants to do her job. And they go to get the Soul Stone, and it turns out she's the one that actually beats Hawkeye into sacrificing her own life in order to get the Soul Stone, which causes Iron Man